Are we filming? Yes, we are. So welcome. Welcome to another of my videos. And this one's all about how I combine paper-based and electronic calendar keeping, diary keeping, my schedule, my appointments. Let me start with explaining why I have a dual system. First of all, I just want to clarify that this is not a desk-based system. It is a system where I can go out, I can travel, I can go to the shops, I can go to a restaurant, and I have everything I need within a very neat, comprehensive, dual-purpose system that I can literally fit in a pocket. And regular viewers will know that most of my filofaxes, and we're talking about filofax here, most of them are personal size, like this one, although this is a lafax. But the filofax I use when I'm out and about is the Guildford Mini Extra Slim. I've got two of these, as most of you know, and I also use a filofax Portland. Again, very small filofax, but these ones are the smallest. This particular model of filofax is the smallest filofax ever made. It's very close to a Moleskine or a Rhodia notebook in A7 size. It's tiny, and so that will fit in a jeans pocket. In fact, I could fit two of these in a jeans pocket and my mobile phone. And the one I carry is a smaller one of the smaller iPhones, not one of the larger screen ones. So this system, such as it is, can go in one pocket. I normally have one filofax and one mobile phone, but sometimes I carry two filofaxes, and they will fit in a pocket. So that is the equipment I use. What software am I using? Let's start with the electronic side, because I'm using an Apple phone, an iPhone, and so I am using two pieces of software, two ubiquitous pieces of software that are available on every iPhone. I'm sure everybody is familiar with the Apple Calendar, very similar to Google Calendar, and also the Apple Reminders app. And this is the crucial thing, I don't add things to my calendar straight away. And there is a reason for that, but hold that thought. Just consider this phone as a data entry tool. So I have an appointment that I need to add. So I will either type it, or I will use Siri. So I will press the home button on my phone and say add a reminder, and then I will be asked what do I want to be reminded about, and then I dictate what it is, and together with a date. So that is the data stored on my phone for later use, but it is in the Reminders app. That is the digital data entry tool of choice for me. So what do I do with data entry when it comes to paper? So consider this as an inbox, and so I I typically carry an insert from a pen that slides into a homemade paper holder, so it's very, very compact. But I also carry a pen, and right now my insert, my G2 insert is missing. So I'm just using a G2 pen. So basically, I will just this is essentially the first few pages, at least, are an inbox, a to-do list, if you like. So I will open it at the first page that I get to, and I will write the scheduled appointment and the date. Crucially, I'm not yet adding it to any diary, and that's very, very important. I'm going through this stage by stage, long-winded. I'm sure you know where I'm coming from, but just so that people can, I'm just walking people through stage by stage the workflow, if you like. So we have, over the course of a couple of hours, we have maybe one or two entries in my to-do list, my data entry, if you like, my inbox, and we might have a couple of entries in Apple reminders. So we've got data here. How does that get into my dual analog digital calendar system? And does that sound a bit long-winded to you, where I am actually having to write it twice? Well, I'm not writing it twice, because as far as the data entry is concerned, I don't duplicate the data entry. Some items are in here on paper, and some items are on my phone. So what do I do when I get the chance to add those to my calendar? And it could be while I'm having a coffee in a coffee shop. It could be, recently I was on a train and I used the time when I had a connection where I was waiting 45 minutes, and I updated my calendars, whatever. Or I might do that first thing in the morning or last thing at night. It's time is precious, as we know. But whatever spare time I have, I use that spare time to update both calendars. And this is the key to not getting in a muddle. And what I mean by that is, if I added something to my calendar, my digital Apple calendar, I wouldn't have any checks and balances to ensure that what I was writing in the calendar would then be, I would able to remember what I had written in my Apple calendar, to ensure that it is duplicated on paper in this filofax. And so this is why there is an additional step, and it probably only takes an extra 60 seconds in any day doing it in a long-winded way like this, but it's a very, very marginal extra amount of time, but it guarantees that I do not miss data entry conversion into both calendars. So let me give you an example. So first of all, I've got some time. I'm sitting in the railway station waiting room, and so I will say, right, I'm going to go through my Apple reminders list. And so what I do is I look at the first entry, the one that's oldest, if you like, at the top of the page, and I will then I will add that to my Apple calendar and insert it at the appropriate date for that, the date and time for that for that appointment. Job done. And before I go on to anything else, then what I will do is I will use that Apple reminder. Before I delete it, I then add it to a single blank page in my filofax. And what I will do is I will take that blank page. So let's say, here we go. So I have these blank pages. So I'll just pick a blank page, and then I will write the date of the appointment, the scheduled appointment that I'm recording, in the top right hand corner. So I'll just put date here. Okay, so that is the date. So I will put the appropriate date there. And then this page, let me tear it out. So this page becomes a single entity, a single scheduled appointment, which means that because I've got all this real estate here, I can, if I need to add anything at a later date, then I can add it, or if it's a meeting, I can use this page to write notes, so I can add quite easily to the page, because it is just one page per appointment, and that is a crucial aspect of my hybrid system. One page per scheduled appointment. So then I've got my appointment on this page in paper form, and I've got it in my phone, in my Apple calendar. And so at that point, and I do them simultaneously, I can then delete the reminder in the Apple Reminder app. And this takes seconds, as we know. So let's just assume I've gone through my Apple Reminders app, and there are no more items to be transposed into paper or my Apple calendar. I can then go through, I go to my front page again, my to-do list, if you like, my inbox in paper format. And there's just typically there might be a couple of pages here, and then I go through them and I do the same thing. So what I do is I will take the reminder, and I will create in here. I will take a fresh page, and I will make a single page scheduled appointment in here. And when I last checked this, I think there were 27 or 28 scheduled appointments. So we're not talking about a huge overstuffed filofax. I believe, as long as you use thinner paper, you can, in one of these very, very small filofaxes with the very small ring size. These are 11mm rings, I believe. You can get about 80 sheets at a pinch. Now, that's more than enough to cover what I've got to do in the fullness of time, and I don't have 30 pages to cover the next 30 days, because there are certain days where I have no scheduled appointments. There may be a few where I have more than one appointment in one day, but essentially, if I have, shall we say, for the sake of argument, 27 scheduled appointments in the fullness of time, then I will have, apart from one or two pages at the beginning that I use as an inbox to jot down things I must add subsequently to my diary and create a diary page, I'm only going to have those 27 sheets in here. And to be honest, I've never exceeded this, certainly since I retired a few years ago. I retired about 10 years ago now. But I still do a few things, a few projects, but that's enough for me. If it's not enough for you, you might have a big, fat, personal-sized filofax, which you could accommodate more diary sheets, or you might have something in A5 which would cover you for maybe a couple of hundred single-page entries for scheduled appointments. But my system works on the case of, if I haven't got a particular appointment next Sunday, for instance, there is no diary entry, there is no page specifically for that date. That might cause problems if you're looking through. It can cause a momentary an element of confusion. There's possibility of confusion when you're looking for a you meet someone and say, we must meet up, but let's consult my diary to see whether there's a free page. You just get used to the fact that if there's no page specifically for that day, then you know that your schedule is free for that day. But it does mean that you do not have to adhere to a standard diary with certain number of days per page, and so from a space point of view, and the sheer weight of carrying a big filofax around in your bag or your backpack, you are truly a minimalist, but with the ability to add either a short schedule or a detailed description pertaining to that description to that scheduled appointment. You can do this. You can go down one side and then the other if you need to. You can add a second page, so you're doing one side, the other side, the next side, and then the fourth side, all for one diary entry. Now that doesn't really happen with me, but it might for you. And so it gives you an option of having an appointment that requires lots of data to be attached to that appointment. It gives you the flexibility of that virtually unlimited real estate in terms of how much stuff you can cram onto a page, or a second page, or a third page, a 10th page if necessary. It works really, really well. And the simultaneously with the Apple's calendar, you can do that. You can add lots of notes that are effectively part of that diary entry, and you can just open it and have a look at what you've written. So this is unlimited in terms of the size of the diary entry, and so is a filofax in this format, specifically because you are adhering to the rule: one page, one sheet, if you like, not one side, one sheet per scheduled appointment, and that works very, very well. So you've spent your 5 minutes updating both diaries in the waiting room on the railway station platform, and then you go again. So you are free to. This is the key: to consult your phone, Apple Calendar, or consult your diary, i.e. the sheets, the individual sheets in your filofax, whatever filofax you choose. And as I said, it doesn't have to be a filofax. Any system where you can reposition the pages, where you can add more if necessary, and you will do from time to time, and remove them as necessary, either throw them away once the scheduled appointment has finished and is now in the past, or archive them as I do. I will archive these. So you are now in a situation where everything's up to date. It's taken you minimal time. You've been able to, by using data entry and then use the process of transposing those inboxes, those twin digital and paper-based inboxes into your twin system, your Apple Calendar and your single sheet diary, appointment schedule. You are now completely up to date, and using that system means you never ever, or at least that's the theory. It takes a tiny little bit, a few seconds of extra time to add both systems simultaneously. So why would I need, because everybody's different. You may not have such a system. It may be purely paper-based, or most people these days it's purely digital. But What are the advantages of having a dual system that you can literally travel so light that your entire system will fit in a jeans pocket? Well, consider a few examples. If you are in a situation where things are one-handed, let's say you're pulling a suitcase through an airport departure lounge, and you want to add an entry, you want to add a reminder. Are you going to try and juggle a pen and a piece of paper in one hand? I mean, it's impossible, isn't it? Certainly impossible for me. Are you going to stop when you're rushing to get to the front of the queue so that you can whip out your pencil, jot something down? No, you're probably going to use your mobile phone, add an entry, either as a dictation using, in this case, Siri, or you're going to just do your thumb thing, and then it's added. Okay. So that is one of the times where I would say, for me personally, it's basically, if I would say, if I need to add a note one-handed, then digital is the way to go. But having the option of recording that in a paper-based way, I would say, I mean, I'm a street photographer in another life, as it were. And there are some mean streets I travel where it is simply downright dangerous to get out a mobile phone, because you will be robbed, or worse. So on those occasions, I would use paper. In fact, there are many other reasons why I like using paper. There is a tactile advantage, and so quite often if I'm sitting down and I have both hands, or I'm in that ubiquitous proverbial railway station waiting room, I will write it down on paper. And there is another advantage, which I'm sure you will all understand and appreciate. I mean, I'm trying to eke out the lifetime of my mobile phone, which is 4 years old, for the purposes of trying to do my bit for the planet. I don't upgrade every single time. I typically upgrade once every 3 or 4 years. And so the battery on this particular phone is not great. I do have a power bank. In fact, I have 2 power banks. But it's a case of the battery. And so what I try and do is I try, if I can, my preference is to write things down, and there's a tactile pleasure of writing things down that you just don't get with adding to an electronic reminders list. And I'm sure you can think of many other advantages where you might have your filofax, but you find it easier at that specific moment in time, before the thought leaves your mind, to get it recorded, and so you would use your phone. And on other occasions you would prefer it the other way and use your pen and paper in perhaps a filofax. What do you do when these when the scheduled appointment is ended? Well, to be honest, you don't have to delete them from your Apple calendar. You can just leave them, and they become a historical record of what you have done or where you've gone. And similarly, you can leave them in your, as long as you've got room in your filofax, you can leave them there, not forever, but maybe a month or two, and then do a purge, as we all do, to clear those sheets away, either throw them away or store them in some sort of archiving system. That's down to you. But that is my workflow. It is very methodical, and that is really important because we all make mistakes. We sometimes are tired, it's or flustered, or any number of reasons why having a system where you update in one method, i.e. paper or electronic, in the hope that you can then at some point in the future remember which ones you have updated and which ones you need to update. It is there's an awful lot of thinking time and memory time tied up with having to remember at what stage you're at. And so I find it's very, very foolproof to have an intermediate stage where you have effectively a to-do list or an inbox and then a diary. And on the mobile phone, I use the Apple's Reminders app as the inbox, and then transpose those into the Apple Calendar, and indeed add a new, fresh, scheduled page for that particular appointment. So we're up to 26 minutes. When I start these videos, I think they're going to be 2 or 3 minutes, and then I find myself banging on about stuff and digressing, and there we go. So I do apologise for that. Some people like me banging on about stuff. So for those of you that do, well, here you go. It's nearly half an hour. Fantastic. Everybody else, I do apologise. I hope you enjoyed me sharing my methodology with you. I mean, I really enjoy it. I love getting comments and feedback, and so if you disagree with what I'm doing, or if you do agree with it, then let me know. Let me know in the comments below, and maybe like or subscribe and all that good stuff. I try not to labour that point too much, but everything helps. And until next time, thank you very much for watching, and goodbye.